Hello, everyone. I am officially live. If you are new here, my name is Alex. This is my channel, Frank Fiction, and hopefully you are interested in doing some reading and productivity sprints tonight. I have no idea how long this sprint session is going to go. Could be 2 hours, could be 3 hours, it could be longer. Really depends on you all. I kind of let my watchers set the pace. That's the way that I did it last time, and I enjoyed it quite a lot. If you are watching live, welcome. If you are watching the recording, welcome to you as well. Regardless if you are live or not, I have some fun questions that I hope you all will enjoy. And I want you to put your answers either in the chat box or the comment box. It doesn't matter what time you're watching this, all answers are welcome. I love to see what people have to say for my questions. I was hoping to do one of these sessions last Friday, but that, of course, didn't end up happening. So I am back again today. I finished a book last night that I really, really loved, and that was the 100 Years of Lenny and Margot. I bawled reading this. It was wonderful. I had a feeling that this was going to emotionally impact me just given the subject matter of the book. I was kind of like, how could it not? But it surprised me with how well it was written. And I've even convinced Keaton to go ahead and pick it up after he's done reading The Green Mile, which is awesome because The Green Mile was another book that I recommended for him. So apparently I'm winning in the recommendation department. I might even convince you to pick this up when I do my reading wrap up for this month, which hopefully will be coming out sometime later this week. I actually have to decide what it is that I am going to read tonight, and I definitely have some options. I was really disappointed with the way that my TBR went for this past month. Well, not really disappointed, but I was like mildly disappointed because I wanted to get through Something Wicked This Way Comes. I didn't even start it because I ended up reading 11/22/63, and that book just being so big and a little bit daunting. It was the largest book on my TBR. Reading that just made getting to Something Wicked This Way Comes impossible. And because that book by Ray Bradbury centers on like Halloween, I feel like I'm just too late to try to read that because there's no way that I'm going to get through it by the end of the day tomorrow. So I've decided either to pick up a book. Well, I've decided to pick up a book that's probably going to be on like from my special list of my TBR for November. And I'll be making that announcement of what the theme of November is going to be. It's my first time not really doing any sort of gimmick where I'm like picking it with tarot or I'm picking it with bourbon pong or anything like that. I actually chose these books for a specific theme. So I'm really looking forward to talking about those. I haven't given up necessarily on Something Wicked This Way Comes, but I'm probably going to either read that at the end of my TBR for November or possibly even save it for next year, which would be kind of disappointing, but I have to just be okay with that. So, this is going to be just a time to chill and hang out, grab a snack, grab your favorite beverage, get cozy, get under a blanket, and decide to work on something that you want to be productive doing. So that could be any project that you want. Um, I'm going to say hi really quick to Kat. Hi, Kat. Happy Monday to everyone. I'm multitasking during sprints, reading, writing notes, writing reviews, and cooking in a bit. That's awesome. I'm so happy to see you. I'm glad that you can make it this time. I know last time that I did this, you were having a really rough Monday. So I'm hoping that this Monday is better for you this time and that you don't have to go rushing off and that you might be able to just kind of hang out for a little bit. But either way, I'm so happy to see you, my friend. And hello. Hi, I get to join for about half an hour. Thank you so much. I'm glad that you're able to hang out. I know Marjeline, forgive me. Please tell me if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. I know that you are on a different time zone, and so this is like a totally wonky hour for you to be watching my sprints. So thank you for deciding to join anyway. That really means a lot. Ron is back. Hi, Ron. Nice to see you. And Kat says, I didn't get to 9 of the books on my October TBR, and Salem's Lot will bleed into November. However, I'm only 3 chapters away from finishing my Victober book. So that's really awesome. And Kat says this Monday was 1 million times better than last Monday. I'm glad to hear that. I need to go back and watch your productivity and reading sprints from last week because I was hosting an event at my work and I didn't get to watch it at all. And I was super bummed out about that because I think I've missed them for the last 2 weeks. So I need to hear about what your struggles were from last week. Nicole's joining in. Hi, Nicole. I'm so happy to see you again as well. She says, I'm reading Knight's Gift of Cats and Dragons #1 fantasy. Very cool. I have not heard of that. I hope that wherever you are in the book right now, I don't know if you're just starting it or if you're already part of the way through, but I hope that you really end up enjoying it. So, as always, I'm going to give you a warning that at some point you are probably going to hear Bubby, my dog Barker, because Keaton is on his way home with dinner, and he also likes to bark at the neighbor dogs. So, at some point, you'll probably get to see and hear him. Um, Marjoline says, yeah, it's 10 p.m., so not too bad. And the pronunciation was pretty good. Phonetically, it's Marjoline. So, okay. I'm sorry. Marjoline? Marjoline? Okay. Was that better? Marjoline? I'm so sorry. My palate is absolutely the worst. I don't have a palate for speaking any other language than English, apparently. Maybe like a little bit of French, but that's only because my voice is naturally nasally. Nicole says, I might also try and catch up on some of my daily RPG calendar. I'm in the middle of September. Oh, that sounds really cool. Can you please tell me what a daily RPG calendar is? Is that something where you are like creating a story for yourself over the course of the year? Or is it a prompt that you're given and you have to create a story around that? That sounds really cool. I love that. So Kat says, what's for dinner? Okay, this is going to sound so boring. I have been eating very bad, very poorly for the last few days, and I made like the best artichoke dip, and it was amazing because it can clog your arteries. So I told Keaton, I was like, please just bring me home a salad. I really just want a Caesar salad. So that's what I'm going to eat to try to reset my poor stomach. And Marjoline says, yes, you've got it. I'm Dutch and it's difficult. Haha. No, it's not difficult. I'm just very bad at pronouncing things and your name is beautiful. So thank you for being patient with me when I am really horrible at pronouncing people's beautiful names. I was thinking of starting tonight off with just a nice, gentle 30-minute sprint to kind of get us in the reading mood. So let me know if 30 minutes doesn't sound good to you or if that sounds like a good amount of time. I think it'd be a nice warm up, at least for me. I am going to be spending some time getting my thoughts down on paper. So, what I do, and I don't know how many other people do this, but when I'm getting ready to like talk about a book on my channel, I have to put everything down on paper first so I can kind of organize my thoughts. And then after I do that, I feel much better to actually talk about it. And I keep a reading journal for every book that I read. And I've gone through a few. I'm going to actually need another one soon, but I'm a little bit behind on some of the other books that I have read, and that's because I put my notes, my detailed notes about everything I thought, in a different place than in this book. So I need to go back and refill this in. So I might decide to do that before I jump into reading another book, but I think that'll be fun. I like kind of like the cleaning, the mental house cleaning that has to happen in my brain whenever I'm done reading a book. Nicole says, it's page a day. The story is written and you get to make decisions and roll the dice for battles and such. Now that sounds really cool. I have only played like Dungeons and Dragons one time and it was a one shot, but I did enjoy the time that I had playing it. It's just hard because I can't do it with like a regular group of people. So if that's something that you can do like with yourself, I think that's so much fun. Kat says, yay for salad. I had one for lunch. Thank you for not thinking that I'm boring and bland. Marjoline says, 30 minutes sounds good. Perfect. And Kat says, 30 minutes is great for me. And totally random observation. I love your nail color. Thank you so much. I actually went through and hopefully I'm not boring you all to death, but I went through and I gave myself a manicure this weekend. Normally, I don't do that because my job is very manual and I have to do a lot of stuff with my hands. But I said, you know what? Screw it. I want to feel pretty. I want to feel dainty. And I went and I bought a nail kit and I did these myself. And I'm absolutely loving them because they're pointy and I feel like they fit with the season. And I'm probably going to wear them at least through Thanksgiving, like this style of nail. I'll end up redoing them in a different color probably in like a week. But thank you. I'm so happy that you noticed. But yeah, I'll go ahead and get the timer up, and you could never be boring, Alex. I hope that you're right, Ken. I really do. I hope that you're right. I'll go ahead and get the timer set. And if you haven't told me what you're reading or working on tonight, be sure to let me know down in the comments. And I will see you all in half an hour. All right, everyone. Hopefully, I didn't just scare anybody. The kitty did not meow. And on that note, the reason why I had to change the timer was because the one that I was using, my little alien race that I enjoyed last time, it completely just froze up and looked like it wasn't going to respond at all. So I had to quickly just switch it to something else. Cat, I apologize because I feel like I stole your timer. This, for those of you who don't know, the Pomodoro Kitty is the same timer that Kat uses on her channel every Wednesday, and I feel really bad that I had to rush and that I picked this. So I really hope that you don't mind. Um, while we all were working on stuff, by the way, let me know how your progress was going. I got down to only one more like little mini review that I need to write in my book, and then I get to start another novel once I'm officially done with this. So I have just like this little half bit here to go, and I'm really excited about that. So Ron came in and said, I'm reading The House of Sacrifice by Anna Smith Spark, last book in the Empires of Dust series. It's grim, dark fantasy with beautiful writing about horrible people doing horrible things. Okay, so grim, dark fantasy, horrible people doing horrible things. Are there horror elements in it? Because The House of Sacrifice sounds honestly like a horror book. So, if you could tell me like a little bit more about that, you said it's the last book in the Empires of Dust series. How many books is that series? And like, are you a huge fan of it, or is it one that you're like, I gotta just like close out this series? Let me know. Yeah, Kat said Pomodoro Kitty. She recognized it as soon as it came up. I'm so sorry. And read with Dr. B. Vanessa says, hey there, Vanessa. So happy to see you. And Kat asked Vanessa, how are you? How are you getting settled into your new house? And Vanessa said, I'm doing well, Kat. Just working on editing a video for tomorrow. I'm absolutely loving our new house, still unpacking things, but I'm so happy at this new place. Which, congratulations, Vanessa, to you on your new home. That's absolutely fabulous. I'm really happy that you were able to do that. I know that the economy right now in the United States is not the best. Or actually, I should ask, are you in the US or are you outside of the US? But either way, I'm very happy for you that you were able to buy your home. I am celebrating my 2 year anniversary in December for buying my home. And so Kat said here, yay, I'm so happy for y'all. That's a wonderful way to end the year. I totally agree. When I bought my house, it was like that was my Christmas present to myself that year. So this is like your holiday present to yourself, your early Christmas present, but I think that that's really wonderful. And Robert came in. Hi, Robert. So happy to see you. You're reading manga, reading Futari Escape by, oh gosh, am I even going to attempt that? Shuichi Tanguchi? No, Taguchi? No, I'm sorry. I just absolutely butchered that. Candy, unfortunately, no one around here celebrates Halloween. That is such a shame. And for those of you who didn't see it, I put up a new banner going across the screen that says, will you be handing out candy tomorrow for Halloween? And if so, what kind of candy do you pass out? So, just to tell you all a little bit about my Halloween experience. Last year was the first year that Keaton and I got to hand out candy to trick or treaters, and it was so much fun, and I really loved it. The only bad part about this year is where I live. Yesterday turned freezing cold, and we're actually expecting snow for Halloween, which I feel really awful for the trick. Make myself big here. Sorry about that, guys. Um, I feel really bad for the trick-or-treaters because, I know the costumes that I dressed up when I was a kid, and they usually had, like, the, like, lace sleeves or something that was always, like, a thin material, and I'm just picturing them all out in their costumes just freezing their butts off. So, I'm gonna be bundled up outside in my driveway with Keaton and my neighbors handing out as much chocolate as the kids want, because if they're willing to go and freeze for Halloween, I am willing to give them as much candy as I possibly can while I'm bundled up outside. Mario Line says, read about 25 pages in Dark Age, Red Rising number 5. Okay, so you were the one who told me to read Red Rising because you said that you were in the middle of reading the series. If you're in book number 5, it sounds like you're really enjoying it, which is wonderful. I definitely still need to get on that. I'm like ashamed that I haven't read that sooner because it's like one of the top sci-fi books that I need to get to, at least if not by the end of the year, then maybe at like the beginning of next year. And Kat says, well, I stole it from Kelsey, face purple crying. Lots of people use it. Okay. Well, if that's the case, I might end up having to adopt it as well, because the other timers that I've tried to find, because I wanted to find one that was unique and fun to my channel, and I wanted it to be sci-fi themed. A lot of them just they don't run very well, and I have a powerful computer that I'm using, and they take up so much memory on Safari, and they just don't run the way that they should. So I'm probably gonna have to adopt this or something similar going forward. And Nicole says, I'll be handing out candy, but my mother made the goodie bags this year, and I have no idea what kind of candy is in them. She went on vacation and left them with me. Well, that is so much fun that you all do goodie bags. I might have to do that going forward, not this year because I don't have enough time to make those up, but that sounds like so much fun. So, is there other stuff in them other than candy? Like, are there, like those fake vampire teeth or any sort of like little trinkets or toys or rubber spiders or anything in them? When you say goodies, is it all candy? That's what I want to know. But that's so much fun. And Kat said, I'm about to wrap up my review of The Wolves and the Walls on Goodreads. The Wolves and the Walls. See, if you have mentioned this in one of your recent videos, I have not gotten a chance to hear about that yet. So my apologies on that, Kat, but I'm hoping that you liked it. I'm gonna find out very soon when I start getting back into like catching up on what's going on in everybody's lives. And Nicole says, I almost bought Futari Escape yesterday on a bookstore outing. How is it? So, Robert, be sure to mention. Um, oh, Kat, thank you. Congrats to me too. I think you were saying that about my house, so I appreciate that. Robert says, a lot of fun, only 4 volumes. Okay, so that's about Futari Escape. Very cool. And Ron says, Empire of Dust is a trilogy, and while it's horrific, it's not a horror. Interesting. Okay. And I'm curious what draws that line for you between fantasy and horror? Like to you, what would make it actually like truly a horror rather than grimdark? I'd love to know. Kat says, I'll be handing out candy. I hand out all the good kinds of candy, chocolate and fruity flavors. Better to be cold than hot on Halloween. Thankfully, it will be cooler here tomorrow night. I suppose that's true, but my friend, I got to tell you, I freeze my butt off. Like, I am a cold natured person. I hate being cold because my hands, like, even now, and I'm in my home, my hands are like a little chilly. I know I'm going to be so cold tomorrow, but I'm going to brave it anyway, because if those little kids are willing to brave it, I can sit outside in layers. They deserve that. Mario Line says, I'm definitely enjoying it. It's so action packed and just so real, which is interesting for a sci-fi dystopian. Very cool. So yeah, you've definitely convinced me. I promise you, you have done an excellent job in convincing me to get to those. And Kat says, it's a picture book by Neil Gaiman. Now I really am sad that I don't know that because I'm a huge Neil Gaiman fan. Is that new or is that old? And I'm trying to think if I know any more about that. Hold on. I got to go back and look at the name that you said, The Wolves and the Walls. That is not familiar to me. How do I not know that? Oh, that bums me out. Okay, you've just like blown my mind, Kat. Thank you for that. And Mariline says, unfortunately, I'm going to have to leave, but really enjoyed that I was able to join for a bit. See you soon. Thank you so much for joining. It meant so much to have you. You're lovely as always, and I hope you have a great evening. And Nicole says, we do put little Halloween toys and treats in the bags. It's a tradition my great grandmother started. I live in what was her house, so the newer generations continue to trick or treat here. Oh, that is so adorable. That just makes my heart so warm. I love that. So yeah, you've inspired me. I think I'm gonna have to do that next year and get like the fun little well, I might try to do something other than plastic wrap because I hate the wastefulness of plastic. But if I could find like some really adorable Halloween paper bags, I think I would probably use those. And I just like tie them up with like some string or something. That's so cool. And Kat says 2003. Well, aren't I out of the loop? You feel free to laugh at me because I have to like cover my face now. How could I call myself a Neil Gaiman fan and I didn't even know that was a book he wrote? And I've read his other children's books, like the ones that have been um, illustrated by Chris Riddell or Riddle. I don't remember how to pronounce his last name, but I've read, Coraline, Fortunately the Milk, the Graveyard Book. All of those were done by him. Loved them, but I guess I haven't read any of his traditional picture books. And Nicole said they make paper ones for sure, usually come with little twist ties to secure them. Perfect. All right. That makes me feel better about my environmental impact because I hate having to use plastic. I try to do reusable everything that I possibly can. So thank you for that. And I want to ask everyone, we had this nice little break. Are you all ready to go back and start like reading, working on your projects? And if so, how are you feeling about time? Let me know like what amount of time you'd like me to put on the clock. I can do 30 minutes, I could do 45 minutes, I could do shorter than that. You let me know what you prefer. Ron says, well, in this case, it's got all the trappings of epic fantasy with dynastic struggles, magic dragons, elf like people, the influence of evil gods, and it's not leaning into suspense in any way. Okay, so that's what makes it feel definitely more grim, dark fantasy than horror. Very fair. All of that makes perfect sense. So thank you for explaining that to me. But yeah, you all let me know how you're feeling about time. And also, sorry, my phone started going off. Also, while you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and put up the next question that I have for you all, which you can type up as the timer is running. And that is there an author whose work you can't stand? Who are they and why? And unpopular opinions are welcome. So, is there anybody that you've read that you're like, this person's popular and I just don't jive with it? Like, what you let me know. I want to hear all the unpopular opinions. And Kat says, I have another game and picture book called The Day I Swapped My Dad for Two Goldfish, 1997. I don't know about that one either. That's fabulous. Okay. That's awesome. Kat, I'm good with any time. Okay. If that is the case, everybody, then I'm going to add another 30 minutes to the clock. And I have to, there we go, allow notification timer. There we go. Oop. Oh no. I'm messing everything up. 1 second. Sorry, I can't see my other screen. Okay. Set times. All right, get it back up here. And 30 minutes on the clock. I'll see you all in a bit and let me know, is there an author whose work that you can't stand? And if so, who are they? And what book? All right, everybody. Welcome on back. Hopefully, again, I didn't scare anybody. I even turned on the notifications this time and the cat still didn't make a noise. Also, you might be able to hear Barker out there. Keaton's getting ready to take him for a walk, and Barker's just going insane because he absolutely loves his walks. I have no idea if you can hear that. So coming on back here, let me know how you're progressing with the sprints. Alex, hello, Alex. It's nice to see you. From Alex Black Reed says hello. And an answer to my question, is there an author whose work you can't stand? Who are they and why? Unpopular opinions are welcome. Nicole says Stephanie Garber of Caraval. For such a quick read, it really seemed to take forever. It didn't grab me, and I was mostly bored. I read the entire trilogy because I bought them all together. I want to say that I commend you for deciding to read them anyway, because I would have been so frustrated if I bought 3 books and even read one of them and was like, this kind of sucks. Like, I don't want to read this anymore. But you persevered anyway, for better or for worse. You read them. And then Ron says, okay, here's my hot take, which is awesome. Toshikazu Kawaguchi, the author of Before the Coffee Gets Cold, is a sexist moral scold, and Japanese women should definitely not pay attention to how he thinks they should live. So that's interesting because I don't know anything about Before the Coffee Gets Cold or about Kawaguchi, but I can tell you that there was similar criticisms, if you will, recently of Haruki Murakami. Now, I can't speak a whole lot to that because I've only read Hardboiled Wonderland and the End of the World by Haruki Murakami. But I can tell you that the way that he depicted women in that book was not particularly positive, though I thought it was meant to be more like humorous. So I don't know if like they're similar at all, like if there's any like level of humor, if it's very much just like straight, like this is the way that he thinks that women should be. I have no idea. But thank you for your hot take. Robert says, have you read Neil Gaiman's Snow Glass Apples? Hated author. I have not. To answer that question, I have not read that. Have you read that, and did you enjoy it? Because that one is a picture book, right? I think I remember seeing the cover of that somewhere. Hated author work, Samuel R. Delaney, DNF Dahlgren, 50 pages in, rambling dialogue of confused characters, most 1950s to 70s sci-fi. Okay, so there's not only this author that you particularly didn't like because it was rambling, but also just in general, 1950s to 70s sci-fi you're not a big fan of. Honestly, I can understand where you're coming from with that because I have like read some sci-fi that's from that era, and it's definitely almost, I don't want to say like reading a different language, but you realize in the span of even 50 years or so how much we change our dialogue and the way that we talk changes, and sometimes it makes older works seem not necessarily incomprehensible, but like the meaning of like the way that they talked is lost to me. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense. But I read The Moon Pool, and I had a similar feeling about that as I was going through. I'm like, I know that this is English. Like, I'm reading this and I know that this is English, but it just doesn't, this isn't the way that people talk anymore. Did people ever really talk this way? Don't know if you've had the same feeling or not. And then Alex from Alex Black Reed says, I'm on page 99 of Let Us Water the Flowers by, is it Jafar Yagubi or Yafar? Yeah, Yahubi. Man, I am just absolutely the worst with pronunciations. I apologize. Feel free to correct me down in the comments. Um, Stranger in a Strange Land, abysmal. Wow, that one is an unpopular opinion, and I can't confirm or deny because I have yet to read Stranger in a Strange Land by it's Ursula K. Le Guin, right? And I do have a copy of it and I need to read it, but I'm curious what about that you found to be abysmal. Was it the setting? Was it the characters? Was it the writing style? Did you like anything else by Le Guin, or have you not read anything else by her? And Ron says, I liked Nova by Delaney, but I haven't tried Dahlgren, and I heard it's a chore. Okay, so we got some consensus here. Very fair. Kat says, I took the picture of my book and posted my review on Instagram. I'm not a fan of Eudora Welty or Virginia Woolf. It may just be the books that I read. That's fair. I have a really hard time, even though I posted this question, I'm like, yeah, who are the authors that you can't stand? Some people, they have bad luck with an author, like multiple goes, like multiple tries, and they continue to see if they'll like that author. I don't I don't know if I can necessarily say that I have an author whose work that I despise, but I can definitely say that I've had works of theirs that I didn't like, and if their other works are similar to the ones I didn't like, I probably wouldn't like any of them. So, examples for me, of course, would be House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. Anybody who watched my review of like my 10 weirdest books I've ever read, you know how much I like hated that book and my disdain for it. Though a lot of people really enjoyed it and they loved it, and that just goes to show that like different books are for different people. I also don't care much for Sarah J. Maas, who is extremely popular, but I'm just not a fan of a lot of well, I'm not a fan of a lot of YA books in general, but I'm definitely not a big fan of YA fantasy because I don't like the romance elements in a lot of those books. I feel like they're forced. Like the reason that people read them is for the romance, it's not for the story, and that's fine if that's what other people want to read, but it's not for me. I did attempt years ago to read 50 Shades of Grey by E.L. James. I got through the first book, refused to read any of the rest of them because I thought that they were awful. But that's not necessarily an unpopular opinion because it seems like with those kinds of books that people either like loved them or they hated them. I don't know anybody who's ever just kind of been mixed like in between on one of those. But yeah, YA romance is really not my jam, but that doesn't mean that I'm not willing to give something a try again in the future. I just know that like my first go with it wasn't that good. Sabrina, my friend Sabrina from Sabrina Reads and Rambles says, I'm not a huge fan of Taylor Jenkins Reid. I like Seven Husbands enough, not great. And even Daisy Jones was but couldn't get into some of her other works. I was bored during a lot of her stories. That is very fair. See, I never read Daisy Jones and the Six, though I know that that was very popular. I did read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I really enjoyed that one. That was an example of a romance that I did like. So it just goes to show you, because I know, Sabrina, you're a huge fan of Sarah J. Maas. So, you know, here it is, perfect example. You know, to each their own. Everybody's going to have their own styles that they like. I don't know that I'm really planning on reading anything else by Taylor Jenkins Reid because with Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, that one was so unique to me because it was a book that I decided to sit and read just, you know, in one day. And normally I'm not like that with books. I like to take my time and digest them. And that one I just sat for, it was like 10 hours or whatever. And I sat and I just read that book. So it definitely left an impression, but even then, still wouldn't say it's one of my favorite books of all time. Um, Kat says, I'm horrible with pronunciations. We could form a club. Alex, you are welcome to form any club with me, Kat. I'm sure we would have a great time, even if it was just laughing at ourselves. And Nicole says, Robert's breaking my heart. I own the Virginia edition, complete works of Robert Heinlein. That's too bad. Yeah. But hey, don't feel bad about it. If you love them, you'll love them. And if other people don't, that says nothing about you. Alex says Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson is a worst for me. Okay. I do know do I know a little bit about that? I've heard of that, I feel like. Is that a sci-fi book? Had like a very colorful cover, looked kind of what's the best word? Not like cyberpunk, but kind of like techno. Is that right? Let me know if that was right because I'm not looking it up. I want to see if you tell me if that's correct. Oh, not Le Guin Highland. Oh God. Oh, I'm embarrassed. Yeah, no, that's what I get for not being able to remember names very well. So, Stranger in a Strange Land is Robert Heinlein. Um, oh, it's I know what I was thinking of. Oh gosh, the has darkness in the title. Somebody help me here. By Le Guin. Um, Left Hand of Darkness. I did it. I did it without looking. Okay, that's what I was thinking of instead of Stranger to Strangerland. I'm sorry. I was thinking of The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Um, Kat says, I will not read 50 Shades of Grey. Definitely not my jam. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it personally. Stranger, what you mentioned about a different language. Nicole Christian, these writers talk about women, toots, sweetie, honey buns. I don't really think I'd like to read a book where they're written like that either, Robert. And yeah, Sabrina, I know you love Sarah J. Maas, and that is perfectly awesome. Alex says, yes, that sounds right. My cover was blue. Okay. Then I can at least think of the cover. And Left Hand, yeah, sorry. That's so embarrassing that I mixed up those two. I don't even look like a sci-fi fan over here, but technically I haven't read either of them, so that's also fair, I guess. But if y'all like, we can go ahead and we could do the next round of sprints. I will tell you that work today was pretty rough for me. I had like a whole hour that I was just doing like physical labor. I was sweating my butt off at work. And then I actually hosted like another live talk, if you will, but for my job where we were doing it for growth and development, and mine was about how to ask productive questions, and that lasted for a whole hour. So I just feel like I've been on, like turned on for being like on camera and needing to be engaging and everything. And so hope you will forgive me if I end up having to kind of tap out a little bit earlier tonight. But Bubby's here. Barker, are you coming up? Did you enjoy your walk, Bub? He very much did enjoy his walk, as you can tell by how absolutely excited he is. So go on, Bub, get water. Keaton's telling you to go get water. Go get a drink. And then Robert said, gently, I should have called for his ship 40 pages in. And then Robert, good to see you. You have a wonderful rest of your day. And then Anthony came in. Hey, Anthony, I'm glad you could join this time. Says, hello, everyone. Just finished my 2 to 10 shifts. So quick drink and read before bed. 12 pages into Gabrielle. Gabrielle Talent's my absolute darling, and it's already unsettling. Oh, very cool. Okay, so I'm guessing that is a horror book, right? Horror. So what kind of horror is that? And yeah, Bubby, he loves ways to make a wonderful grand appearance. Thank you. So I shall go ahead and get the timer started. And my next question for you all, this is the last one that I actually had booted up already, and that is, what was your first favorite book or series as a kid? Bonus points if you can remember mine. If you watched my booktube newbie tag video, if you know it, don't go and look it up now, but like if you remember it, I would be very impressed. And I will see you all in half an hour. right, everybody. 30 minutes is up again. Welcome on back. Let me know how your progress is going this evening. I meant to tell you all that I decided to read The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. This is my very first ever Stephen Graham Jones book. Might also help again if I make myself bigger here. There we go. Which I love this cover. And I love the idea that there's some sort of creature that is haunting people and is like their past come to find them, like get revenge on them. Something of that nature is what I'm getting based off of the description of this book. So let me know if you've read this and if you did, if you liked it or not. To my question of what was your favorite book slash series as a kid, Ron answered, speaking of Le Guin, the person that I messed up on, my favorite book as a kid was A Wizard of Earthsea. And that is her fantasy series, right? So Left Hand of Darkness was more sci-fi, and then The Wizard of Earthsea was fantasy. Let me know if that's correct, because I have not read either of those. Nicole said, when I was very young, I fell in love with the adventures of Bailey School Kids. Then the game changer was Hatchet by Gary Paulson, quickly followed by A Wrinkle in Time that introduced me to fantasy. Now, I have not read any of those, and the only title of those that I'm familiar with is A Wrinkle in Time. And I'm curious, did you end up seeing the movie when that came out? I haven't seen the movie. I really don't know anything about the book or about the film, but I'm curious whether you ended up liking the adaptation or not if you saw it. And Kat says, probably one of my first favorite books as a child was a picture book called Anatole. Is it Anatole or Anatoly Over Paris by Eve Titus. Awesome. And then Kat also said at school, I fell in love with the mysterious disappearance of Leon to Mean Noel. Wait. The mysterious disappearance of Leon. I mean Noel. I don't think I'm reading that correctly. By Ellen Raskin, and I checked it out every year from the school library. My first favorite series was Nancy Drew. I have heard you talk about Nancy Drew before because have you gone back and reread those as an adult? I feel like you mentioned that maybe you did, but I'm curious. And Alex says, are you liking SGJ? I'm not a big on horror, but I've been so tempted by him. Stephen Graham Jones, so far, I'm like very, very early into it because I just started reading it tonight. And I'm in the second chapter, and I can already say that I do think that the writing is interesting. I'm liking it so far as much as I can about, after the first chapter of a book. But the way that he's writing, like the internal monologues of the character in the beginning who ends up dying, and that's not a spoiler, of course, because that's the first chapter and you learn that he dies in the first sentence, but Richard Boss Ribs and, how he came to die and kind of like this creature that he encountered. I think it could be interesting. I'm holding out a hope. I'm thinking good things. Kat says, I've been wanting to read The Only Good Indians. I love My Heart is a Chainsaw. Okay, so My Heart is a Chainsaw is another one that I've heard a lot about. Everybody who's talked about it has said very positive things. I know Stephen Graham Jones is like huge in the booktube community, so I'm clearly way behind because this isn't even new. I mean, heck, The Only Good Indians was published. Let me look at when the publishing date was. I'm curious here. Okay. First Saga Press paperback edition was in January of 2021. So the original copyright was in 2020. So, I'm a few years behind, like normal. If I'm not a year or 3 years behind, I'm like 50 years behind. That's just characteristic of me, apparently. Ron says, loved The Only Good Indians. Awesome. There's another booktuber that I follow named Bart, and he ended up meeting the author, and he said that, he was really excited because Stephen Graham Jones was one of his favorites. And Bart reads a lot of sci-fi, but, also like reads some other things as well. I really love his content. But Kat says, I mean Noel. Okay. Thank you for clarifying. I wanted to make sure that apparently I'm struggling reading tonight. Everybody, I'm going through your comments, and I feel like I'm just really struggling. So forgive me for that. Noel says absolutely did not watch that adaptation. Okay, that tells me I think what I need to know, that you're like, nope, book is good enough. And I'm curious, I think I might have mentioned this in my last live stream, but I can't remember. Um, do any of you all ever have issues with going and like watching a movie and then reading the book after, or if like you read the book then you don't want to watch the movie? In this case, you clearly didn't want to watch that adaptation. For me, I find that usually if I know that a movie is based off of a book, I immediately put off watching the movie and I go, nope. And then I decide to read the book first. And what happens is, if I end up reading the book, then I just never watch the movie. So there are so many movies that I don't end up seeing, and a lot of books that I just like have on like my mental TBR, because I'm like, oh, I know about that movie. A perfect example would be Blade Runner. I have not ever seen Blade Runner, but I do own a copy of the book, and of course, the book edition that I own is the one that actually is titled Blade Runner, not Android's Dream of Electric Sheep, which of course was the original title of that. I don't have that older copy, but I'm just wondering if other people like have the same dilemma that I do. It's the reason why I end up putting off so many things. And Anthony says, I enjoy The Only Good Indians despite knowing nothing about basketball. Basketball's in this? Okay, well, that tells me something. I did play basketball when I was younger. So I used to play in like the leagues when I was a tween age, and I played basketball through middle school. So I'll at least like understand what's going on, thankfully. And Kat says, I've only read My Heart as a Chainsaw and a short story by Stephen Graham Jones. Okay. Well, if you endorse My Heart as a Chainsaw, I'm going to have to be sure to add that to my list as well. Is that also considered horror? Is he a genre writer? Like everything that he writes typically falls within the same genre? Yes or no? I'm just curious. Noel is Leon backwards. Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes so much more sense now. Very kooky book. Ellen Raskin also wrote The Resting Game, which is also a fun middle grade mystery. Very cool. Alex said, I rarely prioritize movies. They're more of a social activity for me. So if my boyfriend isn't interested in watching something that I don't watch, I do prefer to read the book first, though. Okay. Yeah. So uh, very similar to me. Keaton, honestly, is more likely to suggest that we watch a movie than I am. But not because he doesn't read, because he does enjoy books a lot. But I tend to be more picky, if you will, about like my order of how I'm going to watch things. So he could probably get me to watch something before I read the book, but in most other cases, I wouldn't. And Noelle says, unless it has major plot twist, or Nicole, sorry, I just called you Noelle because of Kat's last comment, but Nicole says, unless it has major plot twists, Shutter Island, I'd like, oh, yeah, Shutter Island. I'd like to watch the movie first. Enjoy doing the Martian movie before the book. I generally don't watch many movies though. Okay. Yeah, I have not watched The Martian. I own a copy of the book, but haven't gotten to read it yet. But I know, of course, I've heard amazing things about it. If they're willing to turn it into a movie, then you know that it's sold very well. And Kat says, I like to read the book first and watch the movie afterwards. Also, I like to wait to watch it. Yeah. Okay. So you're also probably not like going to the theaters then. Do you prefer to like watch movies at your house? There's something very fun to me about going to the theaters. I just hate that it's so expensive, but you could argue that about everything today. Like everything's just expensive. And okay, My Heart is a Chainsaw is a slasher. That would make sense given the name. Let me see if I can recall what it's about. The synopsis of it, because I know I read it once. Okay. Is it about a young girl who's obsessed with slasher movies, and there ends up being murders in a town that she lives in, and she has to go or she's trying to see if she can figure out who the murderer is? How did I do? How close was that? um And Ron said the Blade Runner movie is quite different from Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And that makes sense. I think really almost no book ends up having like a perfect one-to-one adaptation for a movie. I think a lot of people say the closest ones are like Harry Potter. I don't hear a lot of great things in terms of like people who love the book more being like, oh yeah, the movie was just as good. So I'm curious, the Blade Runner movie, for the things that were different, did you think that that was better for the movie to be different than the book? Did you like elements of the book more than in the movie? I think Keaton told me because Keaton has seen Blade Runner that it has like a main difference between the book and the movie has to do with the android or AI in it, like the way that he's portrayed, and I think the way that he dies. Again, because I haven't seen it, I don't know for sure. And Kat said, I love going to the movie theater. Yes, Jade is obsessed with slasher movies. Okay. That's, yeah. I'm glad I at least remembered something from that. The title makes perfect sense. It's a really beautiful title, too. And there's a sequel, right? Have you read the sequel? If I'm right that there's a sequel? I also just want to say, too, really quick, in case anybody wants to put another comment in the chat, that I really appreciate you just hanging out with me this evening because of how strenuous of a day it was. I was a little nervous of getting on the stream because I thought I'm going to do a terrible job tonight. I'm not going to be able to like talk or have like good conversations, but you all just post amazing comments and you're great conversationalists, and I have so much fun with all of you. So thank you for that. And Kat said, yes, there is a sequel. I have it, but haven't read it yet. There's just the infinite TBR pile, right, Kat? Just there's always so much to read. Um, but I do hope it wouldn't be too disappointing for you all if I go ahead and sign off here. I realized during the last sprint, like how much I'm just like fading right now. But I really do appreciate this time with you all. And whatever you're doing for the rest of your night, I hope it's comfortable and relaxing and fun, and you have a great amount of joy in your heart. I don't know, but I do hope that you have a good evening and that tomorrow is very kind to all of you and that the rest of the week is great too. Um, but thanks, Kat. I appreciate you saying that. So yeah, but I am gonna go ahead and sign off here. I do plan on doing another one of these either a week from today, next Monday, or if I can manage, I may try again to try to do one on Friday because I was not able to do one last Friday, but I can't make any promises on that. But Alex says, have a good night. Thanks for the sprints. Nicole says, thank you. Have a restful evening. I will do my absolute best. You all missed my comedic salad bowl. I never showed you all this. This is what I put my salad in. It's huge and was definitely not of an appropriate size, but I'm going to finish eating my salad. So thank you all. Have a great night. Cat watching Hellraiser later tonight. That's not restful, but I hope it's fun. And yeah, thank you all. Good night.